I want to play this lovely clip of this man who really touched me earlier.
Our freedom, and that's the word, free.
Look
Here we
out.
are, they're back again. That's a short Sunderland, isn't it?
That's pretty good side, isn't it?
Good, Dan. I couldn't ask for no more than that, could you? No, and he's probably enjoying his trip, thinking they're waving. No, well, that's wonderful.
So that gentleman there, obviously a D-Day veteran, and today there was commemorations with His Majesty the King leading the commemorations, and ahead of tomorrow. Now, His Majesty the King won't be attending tomorrow because he's been advised by his doctors with his cancer diagnosis not to do so, and I think it's so important that we do commemorate this, despite the King's absence, because men like that, the sacrifice that they gave in order for us to be free is something incredibly important, and 80 years on, worth commemorating. But rather depressingly, a recent poll it was the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, that actually found that more than half, so that's more than 50% of those aged between 18 and 34, so that's my age group. That's all of our age groups, as far as I'm aware. Yes, Eunice, you're nodding your head, so yes. And they said that poll found that polling basically asked the question, do you know what D-Day is? And the 18 to 34-year-olds turned around and said no. Now, this isn't, in my opinion, just a minor historical oversight. This isn't going back to 1066 and saying you don't know what happened at the Battle of Hastings, right? This is a glaring neon red flag of our collective failure, I think, to actually pass down those stories of, like we see on screen there, the stories of courage, of sacrifice, and actually the sheer grit of people like John Bennett to actually go out there and create the free world that we live in today. We take that for granted. And if young people don't know their own history, they don't know the history of their ancestors, then how can they possibly feel that has shaped their present? Is it any wonder, right, that we have such a hard left mentality seeping through that generation that says that what we are is shaped by centuries and centuries, thousands of years actually, of English men and women, British men and women actually shaping who we are, the freedoms that we all take for granted in this country and actually in much of the Western world as well. So I'm really depressed by these findings, and the Telegraph reported them a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to highlight them today because I think that this is going to be the last time, right, that we see men like John Bennett that we've just seen there actually at these commemorations, because this is 80 years on. These are veterans who have been around a really long time now, who will sadly pass away. And I think actually we ought to be deeply ashamed of ourselves that our next generation do not know anything about what those people went through. But Eunice, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a failure of the education system. And it's funny because now all the students talk about slave trade and they will talk about this woke ideology. That's all they know about. They don't actually know about what D-Day is. And I saw another study, and this really shocked me. American students, college students, they couldn't find America on a map, some of them. And I was thinking, really? And
Yeah.
again, it's just the institutionalized failure of the education system. They are pushing the wrong narratives. They are pushing this woke lefty ideology. There was another interview where they asked someone, "Oh, what do you know about George Washington?" And the first thing the student said, "Oh, he was a slave trader." Okay, well, do you know anything else about him other than him being a slave trader? So yeah, it's just a failure, and I feel like we're just getting dumber. It's weird for me because in an age of information with social media, where we have all the information in the world at our fingertips, I just don't understand how we're getting more stupid. It's shocking for me, and I feel like maybe there is like a whole formula to it, from our diet to our societies to the mainstream media to social media to our education system. I just don't think there's one reason for it.
Alex, they say the same about Winston Churchill, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a constant attack on our culture. This is what's been going on now for the last decade or more. Tories, again, Conservative Party haven't helped this because they haven't done enough to stop it.
Oh, they've done sod all.
They've done so, yeah, exactly. D-Day is taught at schools. It's taught actually quite a lot. Just to be clear, because I don't want that to be, that is true. It's taught a lot, but it's the context in which it's taught in that is a bother to me, and the teachers that are putting the agenda forward to make this seem some sort of loss to the world that we defeated the Nazis, that this was some sort of attempt of American imperialism over Britain, and of course during that period of time we still had our empire, which they constantly referred to in negative connotations, despite that empire doing so much good for the world. This is the attack that we constantly are experiencing. I know all reasoned viewers will sympathize that they've seen their pictures of Winston Churchill's statue being boarded up because they can't be trusted. The protesters can't be trusted to not deface it and calling him a Nazi, which is absolute bonkers, crazy stuff.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.